What we see is that as the Mughal Empire gradually declined, there were several regional kingdoms which declared themselves independent. Some of these were nominally independent. Now, what do I mean by that? These kingdoms were independent in practical terms, for all decisions were taken and exercised by their respective kings, but coins and other official documents were issued in the name of the Mughal emperor. Bengal was one such kingdom. As you can see in the current map of India, that Bengal then occupied the current states of West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, Tripura, and the country of Bangladesh. So Bengal back then was called the Bengal Presidency, and the flag you see here was the Mughal flag. Now, what is a Mughal flag doing in Bengal if the kingdom was independent? You see, as I mentioned, this was nominally independent, meaning all important documents were issued under the Mughal emperor's name. So they had to use the Mughal flag in order to do that. Murshid Quli Khan was a Mughal official who in 1700 CE was appointed the Diwan or revenue minister of Bengal by the then Mughal emperor Aurangzeb. In 1717 CE, he became the governor or Nawab Nazim of Bengal. Seeing the Mughal emperor was now weaker, he acquired all power in his hands, and in an effort to reduce Mughal influence over Bengal, he transferred all the previously appointed landholders to lesser fertile lands in the present state of Odisha and appointed people loyal to him in fertile lands of present Bengal and Bangladesh. He did so that he could have more control over these highly productive areas. Murshid Quli Khan also ordered a revenue reassessment of Bengal. Previously, revenue was collected in kind, but now under Murshid Quli Khan's rule, revenue began to be collected in cash with great strictness. In order to pay this revenue in cash, peasants often had to borrow the money from money lenders and bankers. Those unable to do so had to sell their lands to the bigger zamindars. Thus, what happened was a class of bankers and moneylenders became very rich and started influencing the state's administration. One such house was the House of Jagat Sheth, or also known as the House of Fateh Chand. Now, one grave mistake that Murshid Quli Khan committed was that he forgot to check corruption in court. This often led to conspiracies that costed the empire heavily. This corruption in court did not show effect immediately during Murshid Quli Khan's reign, but it did so during the reign of the last Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Daulah. What happened was many members of his court did not like his presence and wanted to dethrone him. One such member was Mir Jafar, the chief commander of his army. The British also did not like his presence and wanted to dethrone him because he was very interfering in their policies and actions. So both these parties decided to work together towards their common goal. This conspiracy resulted in the Battle of Plassey being fought on 23rd June 1757, which led to an embarrassing defeat for Siraj's army. As a result, what happened was the indirect Mughal rule in Bengal was replaced by an indirect rule by the British, and this marked the beginning of the British rule in India. Awadh, like Bengal, was another such kingdom which became nominally independent under Mughal rule. Now, there were many factors which led Awadh grow in its power and prosperity. As you can see that the river Ganga flows almost right through Awadh. Now, if a mighty river like Ganga flows through a region, this naturally becomes very fertile. Thus, Awadh had a fairly good agricultural production which added to its prosperity. Also, Awadh was situated in the trade route called the East-West Corridor, which extended from Bengal to western India. This meant that trade was regularly carried via Awadh, which further added to its prosperity. If you notice carefully, Awadh is situated very near to Delhi, which is the Mughal capital. Being situated near the Mughal capital obviously made Awadh a very powerful region, for it often influenced the politics going on in the Mughal court. The power of Awadh further grew under Saadat Khan. So who was this person? Saadat Khan was basically a Mughal official who was appointed the Subedar of Awadh in 1722 by the Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah. Now you might ask, who is a Subedar? Currently, as we have chief ministers of various states in India, back then they had Subedars who controlled the political, financial and military aspects of a province. Saadat Khan was also given the title of Burhanul Mulk for the same reason, because he was a representative of a particular province. Now you might ask that Saadat Khan was a fairly efficient Mughal official. Then why was he transferred to another region and made a Subedar there? This is because back then there was rebellions and conflicts going on among the local zamindars. What Saadat Khan was entrusted with was to resolve this conflict and bring peace to that area. Saadat Khan, as you can see here, managed to do that successfully. And it was this success that gave him the title Burhanul Mulk. He was also made responsible for the political, financial, and military control of the state. He found that the Mughal Empire was weakening gradually, and thus to reduce its influence over Awadh and gain more control for himself, what he did was, he replaced the previously appointed Jagirdars with his own loyal servants. But unlike Murshid Quli Khan, he remembered that the check of corruption was necessary. So he made necessary arrangements to have a regular check of their accounts so that they could not resort to any corrupt practices. Saadat Khan also introduced a new revenue system. What he did was, he auctioned lands to Jagirdars who had to make time-bound payments to him. As long as these Jagirdars paid the revenue on time, they could extract as much as they wanted to from the cultivators. But what happened was, the revenue rates were very high. So both the zamindars and the cultivators had to borrow money from the moneylenders. Often, both these people were unable to return the money to the moneylenders, and as a result, had to sell their property or even lands to them. Slowly, these moneylenders became richer and more powerful and started influencing the state's economy. In 1856, however, the rule of the Nawabs in Awadh came to an end when the region was annexed by the British, and the then Nawab of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, was captured and deported to Bengal. This led to a mass outrage, and finally a rebellion occurred in 1857. This rebellion was, however, brutally crushed by the British, and they established permanent control over Awadh. Next, we come to Hyderabad, which was the last kingdom of this trio. Chinkilich Khan, who was another Mughal official, was appointed the governor of the Deccan and was given the title of Nizamul Mulk by the then Mughal emperor Farrukh Siyar. Seeing that the Mughal emperor was weak and could not exercise enough control over him, he gained control over the political and financial administration of the state. He forced the Mughal emperor into giving him the title of Asaf Jah and thus started the Asaf Jahi dynasty. He also gathered power in his hands and established the independent state of Hyderabad. Hyderabad we know today is a city, but back then it covered some parts of current-day Andhra Pradesh and the state of Telangana. Asaf Jah also brought in skilled soldiers and administrators from the north of India to the south. They helped Asaf Jah control the administration in a more efficient way. However, Asaf Jah's dream to control the textile production in the Carnatic region was checked by the British. Sometime later, after the then Nizam of Hyderabad's death, the successors engaged in a war of succession where the British and the French supported opposite sides. These two sides met at Carnatic and this led to the Second Carnatic War. The independence of Hyderabad finally ended in 1798 when the then Nizam signed the subsidiary alliance with the British. With this subsidiary alliance, the Nizam had to transfer all administrative control of Hyderabad to the British. Thus, as we see, with the decline of the Mughal emperor, three very important regional kingdoms arose, those of Hyderabad, Awadh, and Bengal. All these were common in the sense that all of these kingdoms were nominally independent. The official documents and coins were issued in the name of the Mughal emperor, but all other important decisions, political, financial, and military, were taken by the kings of these respective regions. However, here you should note that these three kingdoms were not the only ones. There were several other kingdoms who declared themselves independent as the Mughal Empire started to decline. You will learn about these kingdoms very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at deltastep.com or download the DeltaStep app to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So, at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So, register for free now.